Let's explore in a bit more depth using JSON and the bike stations and the city bike data that's available. We're actually going to use two different JSON packages. So we'll start off with something called JSON Lite, and then later we'll use our JSON IO. There's pros and cons to each. I've actually seen JSON Lite not work as well in some situations, not be as robust, but the results are often easier to parse. So again, we'll kind of use both. So we'll run this code, and it'll probably ask me, yes, I want to reload the package. And it's installing that. And then we're going to use a package that will let us take a look at URLs. So I'm actually going off onto the web and taking a look at data. And I'll load this later, but they use the same from JSON, for example, so they're going to overload. So we'll only use that later. And let me get the URL for getting the actual bike JSON data. If you notice, it's actually a slightly different URL than the slides I had. And they've actually changed. CityBike has changed their web address to get the JSON data. So what do we want to do first? How about we actually store the results? Actually go out to the web. So the API result is going to be, get the URL, the bike URL. So now we're actually going out to the web and getting the information. So we can see the variable up here is going to have different information. So all of this information that you can kind of see over here, all of that information, we can take a look at the head too. API result. This is all JSON. So it's human readable, but not really human readable, if you know what I mean. So it's so now we have to kind of parse it. So let's get our results. We'll do from JSON. And then we just pass it in what we just stored. API result. Typo. Couldn't find from JSON. Let's make sure it's loaded in correctly. Make sure we're using the library. Let's try it again. There we go. Take a look at the results. A lot of information here. So it's a list of 2 items. So the first thing is just the time, and the second thing is a list of a lot of different information. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at, I guess we can just first look at the results. That was when we ran it, when I ran it. Now let's take a look at all the real bike data. So we can see that what we have is a data frame, 508 observations, and 18 variables. What do you think the 508 observations is for? That's right. Each observation is a station where somebody can get a bicycle or put a bicycle back when they're done with it. And the 18 variables are these different attributes. So the total number of docks available, the longitude and latitude, for example, number of available bikes, other types of information. So that's kind of what we have in the all bike data, and we could do different things like let's get all bike data. Take a look at the first one, for example. That's the first ID. Take a look at the first 10 IDs. You get the idea. Or if I want to take a look at, sorry, look at that. That's all the information for the first row, right, for the first station. We can also ask, how many rows are there? Sorry. And row. Again, 507. We can do different standard operations. So we can take a mean of available docs. So that means the average number of available docs is 20 out of all 507 stations we had. Let's see how many stations have at least one spot available, one doc available. Many different ways to do that. Let's use our tapply knowledge. And we'll do by data available docs. We want to take a look at available docs. Greater than 0. We want the function to be the length of that vector. And the ngth. There we go. So we can see that there was 489 that had at least one doc available and 18 that did not. We could use kind of simpler syntax that we've used before in data frames. So we could use and we would kind of use standard notation for data frames. Like data. Byte data. It's greater than 0. And all of those elements. So this goes similar to what we've done before. And now we can do n row. We'll write a typo, but we'll keep the typo. 489, same as before. So this is maybe a different way. So in R, oftentimes there's many different ways to do it. If one of these ways comes to you more naturally than others, that's fine. And the idea though is to kind of work through and work through R in kind of whatever way is most intuitive for you. Again, thinking about it as applying a function across the data frame, or maybe just doing a subset of the data frame. Both of those are fine. So now let's use our other package, just in case that one is the one that you're using. We'll kind of go through and we'll do something else. So you can see one of the first things you can notice is that the from JSON and to JSON were masked or kind of hidden from JSON Lite because that same function we're going to be able to use now in our JSON IO. Let's make sure we can get, so now we can start processing it. So we can do results from, so again, this is a different from JSON command. It's using the exact same data that we kind of got from the web. It's going to have a similar type of information, obviously. That's the execution time, so that shouldn't be too surprising. And let's take a look at, again, station being list of 507. So let's do the same thing. Station being list. And get num rows. Oops, new rows. It's 507. So what does that 507 represent? That's right, it's the number of stations. If I take a look at a station, here we have to use a little different syntax to get to the different stations. But I can get to one station by saying all bike data. It's a list, so I need to use those double brackets. Remember you saw those double brackets before? And there's the station. Station is also a list, but it's giving you the all information you need. So I can do station $ID, and that's 72, and any other kind of attribute I want. Now here's code that's going to kind of drive you nuts, but in order to actually parse this, we need to kind of unlist all this and do it in a special way. So I'm going to create a data frame, and I'm actually literally creating a data frame. But I'm doing that from the matrix where I need to unlist. Remember, I used that before the unlist command. I need to unlist all my bike data because it came in as a list, not a vector. I have to tell it how many rows there are. It was 507. I could have used the variable I created, but it was 507. And I want to say by row equal true. And then this old string as factors. Don't want any factors. I didn't have any. Now we have to kind of provide the names of the data frame so it kind of looks like something reasonable. And let's take a look at that. So we've just converted this list structure that our JSON IO into a data frame. And that's why I said JSON Lite is oftentimes a little easier to use, because we didn't have to go through that conversion process of converting it from kind of this list of lists into a kind of a data frame. But our JSON IO, I found, has sometimes been a little bit more general, a little more robust. So you can kind of use whichever one kind of makes the most sense depending on what data set you're working from. Now we can kind of do all of the scanning kind of operations we've done before. Although before we start, if you'll notice, we have characters rather than numbers. So let's convert a couple of these just to kind of finish the process of making this data frame actually work. So again, it's kind of review, right? That's how we turn it into numbers. Yeah, numeric. Available docs, available bikes. And then we can do mean. And bikes. So we have the same data set we had before. Now, just to kind of see, you can actually do this with SQLDF, because we can treat a data frame like a database, just like we saw previously. So I'll just do it once just to give you a feel that it actually can be done. So what I'm going to do is select an average. Oh, so I don't have it installed. So we can just view the library. There we go. That's the same as previously. So you saw I got this error before because I couldn't find the package, so I just reloaded it. Typically you only have to install once during a session. I've had this up for a while, so I just basically reloaded it with the library function. I think we'll stop there for today.